Well, my name is Alex. I'll be the one interviewing you. I have an Instagram and a YouTube, Love Sugar Show.
Great, great to know. Amazing.
Yeah, so we'll go ahead and get started. So the first question that I ask anyone that I interview is, how's everything going, music-wise and also personally?
How everything is going? Sorry, I didn't. Well, we are just returned home from a very long tour. We have been out for 30 more days around Europe with a Pagan Fest, great tour package together with Hailstorm, Insiferum, Tyr, and Idafolk. So it was pretty exhausting, let's say. So we're just back home, and now we are trying to return to the normal life, let's say.
Awesome. Did you at least have fun going out on tour?
Yeah, it was a great tour. It was tiring but really fun. Was successful because I believe that most of the shows were sold out. Basically everything was sold out, so it was a great experience.
Well, that's awesome. So let's go ahead and talk about the new album. The
Yeah.
first question I always like to ask is there anything that you would change on it if you could go back and redo anything?
Well, yeah, probably as you said, there is always something that you want to change here and there, especially when you maybe listen again to the album after, let's say, 1 year or something. We can say that this album specifically is very old for us because it was originally written during the pandemic, during the
Mhm.
COVID-19 pandemic. We were supposed to work in a normal way and write the second chapter of the Reader of the Runes trilogy at the time, but there was basically nothing to do. There was no possibility to play live, to go around. So we just kept on writing. We had this big, project of this long trilogy. So we said, since there is nothing to do, we can keep on writing, and maybe let's go ahead with the songwriting, and let's say if we can write enough song for two albums. That's what we did. So let's say that the songs for this album, the Reader of the Runes Luna, were written at least, let's say, 4 years ago, something like that, in 2020, more or less. And so I would say the material is pretty old. So obviously, now that I listen again to the album, I'm very satisfied. But obviously, with fresh mind and fresh ideas, I would have changed here and there. But I say that I'm pretty satisfied about how it came out.
Awesome. Well, yeah, like you said, there's always something, especially if you listen to it over and over again. But it sounds like it's old for you, but it's going to be new for us.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
So, how do you feel that it's finally coming out years later?
Yeah, it was relieving. Let's say it's great that it's finally out because, as said, it was long journey since the when we started writing the songs for this. We recorded partially the album back in 2022, I believe, because the drums were recorded together with the previous album, and the rest of the recordings were done later on. So it was a kind of a patchwork here and there. And now that it's finally out, is great. It's great also that this trilogy has finally come to the end, because we are working on this constantly since 2018, basically. We had this idea to do a concept album, but as soon as we wrote the story, it was immediately clear that it was not possible to condensate the whole story into a single album. So
Yeah.
we decided to split it in three chapters, like like a trilogy of a movie or a book or something like that.
Yeah.
And so the thing that started as a project became a huge thing. And so after so many years, we are finally also happy about coming to the end of this long journey.
Yeah, then you can start a new journey, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
So I know they were kind of all, especially the last two, are kind of written together, but was there anything like unexpected or different that snuck into this album?
In the album, you mean?
Hmm.
Not really unexpected. I would say we just writing for a concept album is a little bit different. We found out while we were working on this, obviously, uh, because obviously every songs, every every atmosphere of the song needed to fit with the lyrics, with the story. So it was not like the albums before where you were writing a good song maybe and that's it. You needed to find the right atmosphere for the right character of the story, for the right moment of the story, and that is also why the three albums of the trilogy are a little bit different one from the other. For example, the previous album, Reader of the Runes, Rapture, is a little bit darker, more obscure because the story it follows the story. The story is the more violent one, where all the characters are dying and goes through tragedies and stuff like that. So as a in all the good in all the good trilogy, also in the movies, usually the second chapter is always the the more violent one, the more where things really get into the blood and everything. So uh, as said, it was a little bit different because we were writing the song, but we needed to understand where they needed to fit in terms of atmospheres, in terms of feeling moods and stuff. So that is what is was different from the previous albums and previous work we did.
So it sounds like the second album was like the action-packed one, and this one's a little bit
Exactly.
different than that.
Yeah,
It's like this
exactly. It
is the
was
chapter.
yeah where the action goes exactly, and was the more that is why it was a little bit more obscure, more violent, let's say, hard and so on, while this last album will be more a little bit more lighthearted, let's say, because it's the epic finale of the story.
Awesome. So it's kind of like the recovery from the second one. Like you had so much tragedy and violence, and now it's like we're coming to the end.
Yeah, exactly. We are finally coming to the very epic finale. So also the music follows, and it's less heavy. Let's say it's more dreaming. I would say a little bit more romantic because uh, the story ends with some sadness, a little bit of sadness and stuff. So also the music follows.
Well, that's awesome. It sounds like you said, like a trilogy, like it's a journey, and then you're finally getting to the end of it.
It is. It was really a journey because it was like we kind of like writing a book, and then when you finally come to the final chapter and you write the final the final words for your book, it's kind of like you are saying goodbye to your characters, the one that were with you for many years. And I believe that it's the same thing that when a writer goes into a big novel and is just as much into his character, the one that he created, and that has followed him for many years during the working of the writing of the novel, and then you finally come to the end and you kind of need to say goodbye to the to your character, the one that you basically invented, but they are still also becoming part of your life. So it was kind of the same thing, I believe.
When you say like character, when you think of a character, do you like give them like a name or like what you think they would look like?
Yeah, we kind of when we started to put down the story, we put down all the characteristic of this of the eight characters, which are the main one in the story, and we kind of put down some description of them, both in terms of how they are inside, in terms of character, behavior, and their feelings and everything. But also I think that we kind of gave them a sort of imaginary aspect. We kind of know how they should be So yes, I think it's something like that. For sure, in our mind, they have some faces, some specific behavior, some specific characteristic that makes them unique. And I think that, as said, it's the same thing that probably you would do when you write a book or something like that.
Are any of them based off the band members?
Sorry.
Are any of them based off the band members?
Mm, I don't think so, to be sincere. No, I wouldn't say so. No.
No, I always want to ask just in case.
Let's say that obviously there are some characteristics, especially from myself and from Damna, that we are the one who wrote the story, that
Mhm,
are present in them. For example, one of the character is the disillusion artist, which is a bard or a poet that writes stories, poetries, and songs which are not really recognized by the people. They are not really, his art, let's say, is not so recognized. It's not famous and everything. And then in the second part of the story, basically we get to know that when he's going to die by suicide, after some years, his songs, his poetry start to become, known by people, and his
mhm.
name is becoming very, very known. And it's something that I always thought about when there were artists like, I don't know, let's say Poe or Vincent van Gogh, or people
Mhm.
that are so famous now, but when they have died, they probably died in misery without their arts being recognized or known as big as they are now. So it is always something that left me a little bit, with a broken heart, let's say.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say that I recognize in this, but obviously, when you try to make art, you always try to get to as much people as possible, but a lot
Mhm.
of time it's not what happens, basically.
Yeah, well, that's really awesome because, like you said, it's really sad when you think about it because, they're huge now and they had no
Yeah,
idea.
exactly.
Sad.
Yeah. Also, the funny things is that it happens a lot. Also, the other way around. Like there are a lot of artists that died, thinking about being, super famous and stuff like that, and then they were kind of, forgotten by everyone. So that
Yeah.
is something that always make me think. You are what you think is what happens when you're probably is the last day of your life, but then you don't know what will happen in the future, and about always thinking about art, because then I don't know if you really care what happens in the future. But for sure, the fact that there are some very, very important poets, I don't know, artists, writers, and painters that maybe died in misery without knowing that they would have become a huge name
Mhm.
for the generation to come. It's something that makes you think a lot.
For sure. So, in saying that, is there a song in the album that has like a special meaning to you or your favorite?
Probably the one that I told you. This one, in this last album, or in the trilogy, you mean?
In the current one that's about to be
In the
released.
current one. Okay, so let's say, let me think a bit. Yeah, there is one song that is called Goni Pok, which is it touches another important topic for me, which is the innocence of when you are a kid. When you are a young kid, you live your life without any kind of responsibility, just with the idea of living your life at the best with your friends, play, have fun and stuff like that, and you don't have any kind of thoughts, and especially responsibility, which is probably a strange age where
Hmm.
everything looks so pure and perfect to you. And it's always the time that we that we remind when we grow older, and maybe we think about of those times when we were so so distant from any bad thoughts or something like that. So the
Mhm.
song is a little bit about this topic, especially related to the story when this character were something when they were young, and then life has changed inevitably our characters, our stories, and all the experience that we do in our life probably can change also ourselves in terms of how we feel, how we compare to the world, how we treat ourselves and the others. So I think it's the song that, in terms of concept, is the one I'm most attached to on this album.
That's awesome. Like you said, when we're kids, it's a totally different world. And when you're an adult, you see life for what it is, and you try to, I guess, get the childlike imagination back in your life.
Exactly, it's like a as you said, it's like a completely different world, as we lived in a completely different universe where everything looked so amazing. Also the most simple thing, the I don't know, also the fact that we believed in certain things that obviously were not real. For example, I was so into the idea of Santa Claus, for example, when I was a kid. And when I think back about this, it's so, I don't know how to say, but it really gives me a sense of pureness and of innocence, which is unfortunately lost with aging. I think it is normal, but it's great to think back at those times.
I was gonna say, unless you're a dog, things are great all the time. Like they're innocent their whole life.
Yeah, yes, exactly.
So I know you said the album was written a few years ago. What about the music video for Luna? Is that something that you just did recently, or was that done like years ago?
No, we did recently. We did it very very quickly because we were about to start for the tour, and everything was done really in a rush because there was no time, to organize things properly. So we tried to do it as fast as possible before starting to think about the tour. So the song was, as said, maybe was written years ago, but the video is definitely more recent.
I must say it is really like creative and it's really visually stunning. So what was kind of like the creation process behind the video? Did you guys have any input on it or did you collaborate with someone?
Yeah, yeah. We collaborated with a director that did a few of other videos we did in the past. I'm not a big fan of the whole, let's say, computer graphic and all the green screen stuff,
Mhm.
where you just maybe play in front of a green screen and then you can add space space battles or anything that you want in the back of the video. I'm a little bit more old school, where you still shoot in the shoot for real, and that you can see what is happening. And I believe that the video for Luna is pretty easy. And let's say there is nothing specific going on, but we wanted to look it to look pretty, dark and obscure. And we found we shot them in a very particular zone. It's a Let's say it's an older druid temple which existed here in Italy, not
Uh-huh.
far from where we live. And it was a reconstructed druidic temple that was then abandoned. But it was a very particular, location, and we chose for that reason.
Well, like I said, it's visually stunning, so I love it. I think it was done very, very well.
Thank you very much. Thank you a lot.
So the band has been a balance of power metal and also have some folk elements into it. How did the band decide to go with this type of genre of music?
Well, the band was founded back in 1997, so really a lot of time ago, and the idea of the folk metal was not really existing at the time.
Mm-hmm.
There was obviously the so-called originators of folk metal that were Skyclad, a British band that we loved so much, but there were no real scene at the time. Nothing that was still called folk metal or pagan metal or anything like that. Um, we we come from Italy, so a lot of people, usually say, okay, why are you playing folk metal when you come from Italy, thinking that Italy is beaches, sun, and and seaside and stuff like that. But we come from the very north of Italy, close to the mountains with Austria and so on. So we had a big tradition of folkloristic stories. Our grandma, I remember my grandma used to, tell me a lot of stories from the folklore of the mountains and stuff like that. So we were influenced by this kind of tales, and also some folkloristic music from the same regions. So let's say that the folk music and the folk storytelling is part of ourselves since we were kids. So we kind of wanted to create something that could mix the typical power metal, heavy metal from the 80s, 90s, with these influences, and with maybe acoustic music that we also love when we were kids. And that is what came out before, even before the folk metal scene were existing, or somebody call it like that.
So you guys were doing it before it was cool, before it was a thing.
Yeah, basically yes, because Ensiferum basically came out with their album in 2001, the same year we did our debut album. And other bands, there were something coming from the black metal scene for sure, with some folk influences. And
Mm-hmm.
that is also one big influence for us, a lot of black metal there, but that was in a much more extreme side, so we kind of mixed with more melodic kind of metal.
So just kind of a fun question. If you could choose this album to be a soundtrack for a movie, what movie would that be?
Wow, that is great. Great question. Let's say there are a lot of movies that I love, and I would like to do a soundtrack for that. But I would say that it should be something fantasy related for sure. Maybe something heroic and epic. So something like that. I don't want to say the usual things, like something, okay, the Lord of the Rings and stuff like that, but for sure something that can be in that direction. It would be great to make a movie out of this trilogy and this story, and make, and create the soundtrack out of this. A lot of people ask us if we want to do a series or something like that out of this story. Obviously it's nothing that is possible, but would be great to create, maybe, I don't know, a graphic novel or a comic out of it. Would be great, and we are thinking about this. There are
Mm-hmm.
people who are working on a video game, probably, out of this story. There are people who are doing some Dungeons and Dragons you know how do you say, adventures out of it. So it's something that can be.
For sure.
But
That's
if you ask me a movie, I don't know. There are a lot of movies that I love, since I am a total movie maniac. So,
to be fair, my first thought was Lord of the Rings too. So
yeah, yeah, it was, too obvious to say, but could have been, yeah, something like that. Maybe something for the new new chapter of the Lord of the Rings, the Gollum stuff, and the one that are coming out from Peter Jackson yet, production and so on. So let's see.
For sure. So, one final question here. Is there anything you would like to say to your fans, the old fans who have followed you from the beginning, the new ones who just have heard you and are like, this band is awesome? Like, anyone who wants to check out the new album or see you in the future on tour?
Yeah, absolutely. We first of all, I want to say thank you to all the people that came to visit us in the tour we did in the US, in Canada, and in Europe. We did a great US tour last year, including Canada, was amazing. And what I would like to say to the people is try to make music survive, because with in these times, it seems like, we know that nobody is selling albums anymore. There are a lot of streaming on Spotify, which is great, but we still believe that music needs to be lived as we were used to do it back in the 90s, maybe buying the album, maybe listening to the album from the first track to the last one, and try to live it as a journey, and not skip one song like we used to do on Spotify. So maybe if we can try to leave music as back in the days, trying to listen to the albums from start to finish, and maybe sit down with the lyrics and try to understand what is the meaning behind the songs, and the words would be great, because music is something that uh, to me has been always been a kind of a haven, a healing thing. When I was sad or dark or something like that, it always helped a lot, and I believe that this is what music needs to be and need to be still nowadays. So that is what I hope also for the new generation and the young kids.
Well, for everyone else, the album The Reader of the Ruins Luna does come out on April 11th through Reaper Entertainment. I will leave a link below in the description, so it's really easy for you to click on, pre-order your album. I've listened to the album. I love it. So this is definitely one you need to add to your collection for sure.
Thank you very much.
And I want to thank you for taking your time for doing this interview with me. And
Thanks.
I hope that you have a good, I'm sure it's more nighttime where you are.
Yeah, it's nighttime here, but
So,
it's dinner time, let's say, so not nighttime.
well, enjoy the rest of your day. And thank you so much
Thank you
for
very
doing
much.
the interview. It was a pleasure.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Thank you for the interview and for everything.
No problem. Take care.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.